This is BBC Surrey.
BBC Surrey.
Let's get back to our top story locally now this morning, though, and adverts have been trying to stop people doing this for more than 50 years.
Drinking and driving are dangerous. If he's been drinking, don't let him drive.
What makes the split-second difference between stopping here and stopping here?
Most of us reckon we can handle our motors after a few pints. Take it easy and you don't attract the law.
Don't make a bit of rush.
Calm down, sir. You the driver of the vehicle, sir?
No pulse, no response.
You've been drinking, sir?
That's just great, Matt. No licence, no job. Now what?
So, what's it going to be?
Well, we're of course talking about getting behind the wheel after having too much to drink. BBC Surrey's discovered that more than 750 motorists from the county were caught drink driving last year. Campaigners, including ROSPA, are calling for the limit to be reduced like it has been in Scotland. We've been asking you for your views.
That means people aren't going to be maimed and killed who otherwise would be. I'm for it.
I think if you've got the car and you're driving, you shouldn't have anything, because one drink might do it, mightn't it?
I don't like drinking if I'm driving at all.
Have you ever down the years, had a drink and got behind the wheel?
I think so. Years ago, you could drink. You didn't think about not having a drink, did you? You got in and you drove. I've done it.
Yeah, I have too when I was younger.
But I think it should be lowered. There's too much drinking and driving that goes on.
Oh, I think so. Definitely lower.
Well, Pamela Alsop from Crawley knows all too well about the impact of drink driving. And a warning, you may find some of this upsetting to listen to. Pamela's son, Martin, died at the age of 22 after being knocked down by a drunk driver in 1988.
Martin was in Sutton. Him and two of his friends, a girl and a boy, were playing pool. They were crossing the road. Our car had stopped to give them the right of way. And a car came and overtook the way they were going and hit all three. He carried one 180 yards down the road. My son and the girl were critically injured. A windscreen wiper had gone into his lungs, and that was all the guns in there, so they had to drain that. But unfortunately, he died a day after his birthday. But the point I'd like to make about it is that a drunken driver has not found his victim yet. It will happen if they keep on. I got to the point with my religion that I am grateful for the 22 years I had. And my boy said one day, he said, "Mum, I know you're worried about Dad's health, but I'll always be there for you and the kids." And that bloke took him away.
Well, that was Pamela Alsop from Crawley, whose son died after being knocked down by a drunk driver. Jeanette Miller is from Geoffrey Miller Solicitors, president of the Association of Motor Offence Lawyers. Morning to you.
Morning.
What do you think the limit should be?
I think the only safe way of driving is to not drink at all. Whether there is a reduction of the limit to zero, I don't actually agree with that at this stage, partly because of a lack of education and understanding of motorists. So I think what has to come first is education, because there's still this misunderstanding or misconception that you can measure what's safe by units or by the number of drinks you have. And I think until that is addressed, lowering the limit to the proposed 50, I think it's currently 80, will just criminalise a significant number of drivers who are otherwise law-abiding.
It doesn't really give clarity, because if it was basically zero, then everyone would know, and then the education of that would be pretty quick, wouldn't it?
Well, the problem with lowering it to zero is the massive impact it would have, I think, on a number of industries. And I think that's probably why that's not an attractive
like
option.
Like which ones?
Like the entertainment industry. And I appreciate that there should not be that consideration when you're looking at saving lives. And I think that's how the vast majority of the public would consider it. But I suspect the government will have to, I suppose, look at a balancing exercise of ensuring that the limit is at a level that is not going to impact on industry and commerce and is going to have a proper effect on reducing risk.
There's definitely a generational thing here, isn't there? Because I know that my dad back in the day would happily have a few glasses of wine, couple of pints. Now, I would never do that personally because I just don't feel the same and therefore I don't feel as safe.
You'd think there's a generational thing. I think that, again, is something that people assume. But in my work, I come across people from all demographics and age groups. So I don't necessarily think it is about, an older generation having a bit of a disregard for the law. I actually think a lot of the people that I come across, I'm pretty sure of this, are in the situation that they're in because of not appreciating that they were going to be over the limit.
Do you not think that the younger drivers are actually much more savvy than we ever were when we were learning to drive?
I do, but I think there's also errors of judgment that younger people are more inclined to make. I think that there is certainly a different attitude amongst the majority of younger drivers, but I do still come across people in the unfortunate situation of having to deal with a prosecution who are at the younger end of the age group.
You mentioned the entertainment industry. We're talking about pubs and bars and clubs and that kind of stuff. They're pretty adaptable. And, if it was zero, there is absolutely no doubt. And then anyone who got in the car would just go, well, actually, no. And I think, from my perspective, part of me thinks, well, people would soon clock that, okay, well, he's clearly driving and that's that.
Maybe. I mean, I think there is room for creativity on penalties. In some European countries, I think it's Germany or Belgium, I'm not sure, they have limits for different classes of drivers. So young drivers under a certain age group or professional drivers, the limit actually is zero. And I can see the sense in that. I'm not convinced that reducing it to zero is going to ever happen just because of the different considerations that the government needs to make. It's not my personal view, but I can't see that happening in the near future.
Jeanette,
and I think you'd still have the problem of people who get in the car the morning after drinking thinking that they're at zero when they're not.
Jeanette, thank you. Jeanette Miller from Jeffrey Miller Solicitors, President of the Association of Motor Offence Lawyers. What's your tuppence worth on this? 81333. Start with the word radio. Text us. Drink driving. Your thoughts. Should there be a drink drive limit that's maybe lower? Should there be zero tolerance? Would it make any difference? You can email surreybreakfast@bbc.co.uk.